Taylor rolled her eyes hard. Borrow money? If he heals up and skips town, I'm the one left holding the bag. Sure enough, Taylor just slapped some cheap herbal poultices on him and called it a day. He survived, but Brandon's leg was ruined. From that day on, he walked with a heavy limp. 2 months later, Brandon was leaning on a crutch, holding Taylor's hand with a look of deep devotion. Wait for me to send money from the city. As soon as I graduate, I'm coming back to marry you. Don't you leave me. Taylor nodded dismissively, but the second he turned away, she sneered at me. Who'd want to marry a delusional guy with a bum leg? He's dreaming. And so I left to chase my own dreams. 4 years later, I returned to the village wearing a stylish trench coat and carrying a degree from a prestigious university. The first person I ran into was Brandon. He stared at me, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Chloe, how on earth did you get into a top university? I flashed my red diploma and gave him a sidelong glance. In my last life, I spent my tuition fixing your leg. This time, without a leech sucking me dry, of course I graduated. Brandon's face went pale and his voice started to tremble. You're back too? I gave him a contemptuous smile. Being reborn isn't a privilege reserved just for you. I glanced down at his disabled leg. I stepped aside for you in this life. Too bad the police academy doesn't take guys with a permanent limp. He clenched his fists, his expression twisting into something hideous. So what? For Taylor, I'd give up everything. Is that so? I leaned in, my tone playful. Then do you have any idea that she's actually— I know what you're going to say, Brandon snapped, cutting me off with a look of pure disdain. In his mind, the fact that I'd graduated from a top school and looked better than ever was all just a ploy to get his attention. He even had the nerve to warn me. Chloe, just admit it. You're still not over me. But no matter how successful you are, I'm choosing Taylor. I almost burst out laughing. Right then, a luxury car pulled up smoothly at the curb and Drake stepped out, walking straight toward me. I tucked my arm into his and said calmly, "Let me introduce you. This is my husband, Drake." Brandon looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He stood there, frozen, shaking his head in total denial. "No way. You just hired some guy to try and make me jealous." Without a word, Drake pulled out our marriage license and held it right in front of Brandon's face. "Sorry to burst your bubble, but we just made it official today." Brandon looked at the official seal and his expression soured like he'd just swallowed a fly. What really broke him was the realization that we had been dating secretly for 4 whole years. All that time, his grand romance had been nothing more than a bad performance in my eyes. Desperate to save face, Brandon turned and grabbed Taylor's hand. "Taylor, let's go get our license right now. Let's show them what real love looks like." But Taylor dodged his touch, making up some excuse about losing her ID. She insisted on only having a wedding ceremony. Behind his back, she hissed a warning at me. "Keep your mouth shut. If it wasn't for the dowry money to pay off my gambling debts, who'd ever want to marry a cripple?" I looked at her greedy face and just smiled. Since they wanted to put on a show, I was more than happy to see how this wedding would end. The wedding day was an absolute farce. Brandon's side was packed with guests, but Taylor's side was empty. Aside from me, not a single neighbor showed up to support her. But Brandon, lost in his reborn dream, didn't care. The reception wasn't even over before he couldn't wait any longer and dragged Taylor into the bridal suite. But then, not even 3 minutes later, bam, the door was kicked wide open. Brandon came charging out, shirtless and pale as a ghost. He was running so fast he took a nasty spill, face planting in the dirt, but he scrambled up and kept running. His eyes were bloodshot and he was screaming like he'd seen a ghost. Damn it all, that's not her. She's not the woman I was supposed to marry."